Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have been getting a lot of questions and requests to show a more in-depth look at how I set up my journaling strips, and I've said in the past, journaling strips are my go-to method for adding journaling, especially when I'm putting together Scrapbook Generation kits. For me, it's just an easy way to be able to fit them into pretty much anywhere. And it doesn't matter if I only have a couple lines of journaling or if I have a ton of it, I can typically get it to work. And journaling strips is just kind of the way that I prefer to do it, especially when I've got a bunch of kits that I am sort of doing the journaling for all at once. And because I am prepping for the We Create crop that Scrapbook Generation is holding in Missouri, I just finished matching up and printing photos for a bunch of kits, so now I'm going to sit down and type up all of my journaling, go ahead and print it out and tuck it in with those kits. So I figured since that is what I was going to be doing today, I'd go ahead and take you guys along for the process. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And so to get started, I typically will use Microsoft Word. I did run into a little bit of a problem today. I normally will use Word on my desktop, and my desktop is over 10 years old. So I'm not able to do the screen capture on my desktop. My video card and whatever sort of software needs to talk to other types of software, it just does not work on the desktop. So typically anytime I do one of these types of videos where I am showing my process and it is something on my computer, I will use my laptop. But then it occurred to me that when I use my laptop, I am using WordPad, because apparently you can't get a computer with Office on it anymore. You have to pay for it. So I went ahead today and just signed up for the monthly Office Suite subscription just to go ahead and make it easier on me to film this video. But like I said, I have done it both ways. If I'm using my desktop, I will use Word. If I am on my laptop and I don't need to do 2 columns, then I will just go ahead and use WordPad. For some reason, I can't figure out how to do columns on WordPad, and if I have a lot of journaling, being able to format it into columns is sort of what works for me and what I need to be able to do. So typically I will just open up a blank document in Word, and then usually one of the first things that I'll do is I'll go ahead and go to the Layout tab, come over here to Margins, and then this is way different than the one on my desktop, so hopefully I can figure this out. Typically I will just go change my margins and make them narrow, and I'm not seeing it on here. Okay. So I typically pick narrow. It's going to automatically shift all of your margins to where they are only a ½ inch from the top and a ½ inch from each side. From there, I will actually stay on layout. I'll come over here to columns, and I'm just going to go ahead and set it up to be 2 columns. And the reason that I like doing this is because, if you can see up here at the top, each column is 3½ inches wide, and that's about exactly like what I prefer to have my journaling. Obviously some of them are going to be shorter because I don't have as much to say. And then a lot of times I will just go ahead and type everything up in whatever font and font size it's already on. Like right now this is the font it's on, and it's set for size 11. I'll just go ahead and type everything that I need to type, and then I will go back, highlight each set of journaling for each layout, and change it to be a different font size and a different font based on either what I'm in the mood for or what I feel like goes with the layout. And I have mentioned in previous videos where I typically will match my photos based on how the layout makes me feel, and that's just my method. So same thing with fonts. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna go ahead and type up on my journaling, and then I will come back and show you guys sort of how I'm editing and just some different tips and stuff as far as line spacing and things like that. Alright, So coming back, I have a bunch of different journaling, and as you can see, some of it is a decent amount, and then I've got some older photos and stuff that I'm putting together. So like this one, Mother's Day lunch and macaroni grill. Um, I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't really remember. Like, I have the photos, I remember going, but I don't really remember enough about that day to really type anything about it. And ultimately, that part of my albums, I just kind of want to know what the photos are from. And so to me, Mother's Day lunch and macaroni grill, along with my date stamped on the layout, is perfect for me. Okay, so everything is basically just typed in two columns, and basically if you set your document up to two columns as you're typing over here on the left, so this one that says Christmas Eve means the kids get to open a gift early, this wraps around to the top right, and that's fine. I am going to go ahead and separate this a little further. I try to have a good break between journaling spots for the different layouts and stuff, just so that when I'm cutting them apart, I know this is the end of one layout, this goes to another layout. And then I went through and just kind of reread everything, fixed any mistakes, corrected some spelling. I'm ignoring some of the grammar issues that that word is having. I would prefer the journaling to be the way that I speak than the way that Word wants me to speak. So from here, I just kind of try to decide, I guess, fonts, and I have my go-tos. I did kind of go through and list them out. I'm hoping, because I just downloaded Word, I'm hoping that they will already be installed in here. So, like, one of my go-tos is a Typewriter font. Hopefully it's in here. This one, I do not know how to say this. Typenoksidi. On my mind, when I think about it, I just say Typensky for some reason. That's what I've dubbed it in my mind. I like this one. And then typically I will change my stuff to a 12-point font. I just feel like it's a little bit easier to read. That's pretty much a standard size font. I'm not sure why most word processors are giving you an 11 now. Back in the day when I was working and stuff, it was 12. For whatever reason, this particular one, I'm not a fan of using this font. This journaling goes to a layout of Christmas at our house, and it happens to be my daughter's first Christmas. So to me, I tend to lean towards more juvenile or more fun type fonts when I'm kind of doing stuff like that. This chocolate covered Raindrops is one of my go-tos, and you can see that it is still technically a 12-point font, but some of the different fonts that you can download from the internet sort of have their own formatting, and you kind of have to play around with the sizing and the spacing sometimes. So for me, this one, I would go ahead and put it at like an 18-point font. And typically, this amount of space in between the lines is perfect for cutting apart the journaling strips. And then I like this font, I like this size, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one as is. Any other thing that I tend to look for would be like my last line. I feel like this is an okay size. I feel like if I want to have more uniform sizes in my strips, I will go ahead and bring over some extra words. And then basically what it's doing is it's making this strip and this strip a little bit more similar in size, which is then making them both more similar in size to all the strips above here. I just kind of don't like having like this, where it says a house. That's another one where after I have formatted it, I will go ahead and change up, how many words are on an actual journaling strip, and that's just a preferred preference for me. So this one is another one of my kids. We went and rode a Santa train. So let me go through and find another. I had written them all down. This Cool Crayon one is really cute. I like it for like school photos and stuff like that. It just kind of looks like if you wrote it with a crayon. Let's see if I can find. Hyland Perk is another one that I really like. Ink free. I kind of like just the look of handwriting, just not my own handwriting. So I like a good font that is legible and kind of gives you the impression of it possibly being handwriting. Miserably Loose is one that I like as well. It's much more bold. For whatever reason, it doesn't feel right for these photos, so I'm going to keep going, see what I can find. See what else I wrote down here. My Wandering Heart is a good one too. Sometimes I think this is the one that I have to make it bold, just because sometimes it's so thin that when you go to print it, it's just kind of hard to see. And then here's another example of sometimes these fonts will have their own formatting as far as line spacing and font size. So I'm gonna go and switch this to 12 and see if it makes the line spacing a little bit better. I feel like I want to bump up the line spacing on this, just because when I'm going and I'm cutting and the letters where you've got something that hangs down, like this G, is so close to the top of this capital letter right here that trying to make that cut is going to be a little difficult. So what I will go through is I will go ahead and highlight just the one that I'm working on. I will come up here to line spacing, and I will go to options, because this is going to tell me what it's already at. So see, typically line spacing is like 1.15, and this font is at 1.08. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. These are, so if you use the arrows, it's going to go through the predetermined line spacing and it will give you a sample. And to me, that's just, it's too much. I don't want that much white space. So I'm going to try 1.15, and it separated it a little bit more. So I think I'm going to go ahead and keep that one there. And then I'm going to come down to this one. This is, I'm pretty sure 7 of these in a row are a Christmas kit that I know I'm drowning in kits, but I just bought a Christmas kit off their site, and I'm going to pick it up at the crop. Okay, I'm going to move this to 12. I'm going to go through. Okay, so I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom and see if I can find some of the other favorites that I was wanting to tell you guys. The Great Escape is another one that I like. I think it's just a good font. And this one is almost spaced too far. I don't like a lot of white space above and below my journaling strips when I go to cut them. So again, I'm going to go do the same thing. I'm going to come up here to line spacing. I'm going to go to line spacing options, and this is what they're telling me that it's at, but I don't know that I believe that. So I'm going to switch it to 1. That shrink it down a little bit. And a lot of times I will do a test print, like I'll just print this out on cheap printer paper and just make sure that everything is the way that I want it, everything's going to print out, and then I'll print it out on Nina cardstock and go from there. I still feel like there's too much space here, so I'm going to go back, and I think I'm going to change this. I'll try 0.95. And I mean, this is pretty much what I do, is I just kind of play around with it until I get what I like or what looks good to me. That's obviously too close, and that's probably why they have such a big line spacing, is because things like this Y is almost touching that D. So those are the things that I like to look for. I like to look for the places where I'm going to be cutting in between the lines. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. come down here. Again, I like to change it to 12. And usually I just go straight to 12 because the space between the lines is like perfect for you're only making one cut between the line, and that's basically your strip. This is for a gingerbread house layout. So this is a cute one, Snub Nose Demo. I've used this one for like bigger things like posters and stuff. Socially Awkward is one that I like as well. This is way too spaced out though. So again, I'm going to go to line spacing, take it down to 1 and see what happens. And then again, this says that it's 12, but to me it just seems so much bigger, so I'm going to bump this one down to 11 and just kind of see what happens. I like that. I feel like there's just enough space for me to cut between the G's right here, and then the rest of it is over here. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. So when I go to print this out, what I end up doing is you've got 2 straight cuts going down the left side of your journaling, and then I go through and I cut between each line, and then I just take my scissors and trim off whatever is on the right, and that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions about, I guess, the journaling strips or anything else that you want me to show you as far as my method and stuff, go ahead and leave me a comment below, and I will go ahead and try to either answer you in the comments or possibly throw it into another video. I will catch you guys next time.